Hello and a big warm welcome to the Barsters Inquiry podcast. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and with me to discuss Thursday and Friday the Moe July meeting at Newmarket is John Lane of John Joe's Blogspot. The first 2 days we'll be covering, and we'll be back on Friday evening for the main show, which will cover Super Saturday, July Cup, you name it. Just a tremendous Saturday is the one coming up, and it's such a shame that they're all together on one day. John, don't you agree?
Well, it's hard for anybody wanting a jockey, isn't it? That's the hard part of it.
Yeah, I mean, John Smith's up at York. You probably the Willie Agus thing, I think, is favourite for that on Saturday. You know, he's like, I don't know, Tom Marquand will probably be at HQ, so Agus will have to look for somebody else, and so on and so on. It's a bit of a minefield these Saturdays, and I think jockeyship is important. But we pop on. The 2 days of Newmarket begins tomorrow, and obviously bigger things tonight is the England game with the Danes. But our job really is to supply winners. And looking at the first day, John, I like the first day. I think there's plenty of quality. We can start off, if you like. We'll look at the Bahrain Trophy over the 1 mile and 5 furlongs. Stowell is the market leader at 2-1. The famous Stowell, the Rab Havlin, we can't hit them first time. Now he's 2-1 favourite for a Group 3. Now with Frankie on board. John, any thoughts yourself on the Bahrain Trophy?
I think really that Stowell is probably the key horse in this. He does look as though he's still moving forward to me. There still looks to be a bit of room for improvement with him. I mean, you've got a Group 1 winner in Gear Up priced at 6-1, but I think it's fair to say he has been doubly Johnstoned this year. And, you know, you just couldn't be terribly hopeful about him doing anything unless he got the softest of soft leads. And then again, he's got Ryan, and I'm not particularly keen on from the front at any rate. So I couldn't be with him. I think Dancing King probably flattened out a bit last time. That's as much as he's got to offer. And I'd maybe make you be of the danger at risk of being a blogger forecast merchant with first and second in betting.
Yeah.
But that looks to be the way it's going to rock to me.
Okie dokie. So, Stowell and Yabir. John thinks the betting's correct. 2-1, 11-4. So John likes his big prices. He isn't dancing at the prices, I'm sure. I mean, knowing you, I mean, you're old school in terms of you'll always try and get a favourite beat if you can. Apart from when you do turn blogger occasionally, but last time you did it with amazing success. My thoughts are pretty similar to you here. Stowell, I think he's very solid. He's obviously the right price. The run last time at Ascot, like you say, it is moving forwards. That's a really big step forward from its previous form, and it was a real baptism of fire to stick it, straight in the Queen's vase after those two, particularly as John and Thady thought it was like a bit raw on debut, and obviously they couldn't let Rab Havlin use any encouragement, in the BHA's words, to try and persuade Stoll to pass Frankie on the other stable, mate.
He wasn't allowed to pick up the encouragement.
Will the encouragement stick be applied here in the closing stages of the Bahrain Trophy? We shall see.
Cashes down, I'm sure it will.
Yeah, just one to watch, listeners, for me, is Mandoob of Brian Meehan's. Now, I'm not a massive fan of the trainer, really, but I'm a fan of this horse. Made its debut at Lingfield and made up a lot of ground to overhaul Marshall Plan on debut, obviously getting £7. But Marshall Plan, in his own right, wasn't disgraced at Ascot against Surefire off 90. And I think he made a step forward last time out at Haydock. He was a short price, 6-4, but he impressed me how he made up 4 to 5 lengths in the last 2 furlongs to absolutely mow down Princess Nadia, and was absolutely powering through at the line as if to say 1 mile 5 furlongs will be fantastic. Has got to improve, and I'm not really bouncing at the 7 to 1, primarily because he's got to improve probably a good 12, 13 pounds in my eyes to be winning this. So I think he will improve, but I don't think can he improve that much? Probably to beat Stolen Year Beer, I'm not so sure. But he is a horse to watch going forwards. I do like Mandub, and he's by far in this race. He's 1 from 1 over time. Far is obviously an unfortunate sire in that. Did he become infertile, John? I'm not sure. Was he? I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's something. I mean, I could be wrong. Could be spouting rubbish, but I'm sure that
radiator somewhere. Then
yeah. But I'm certain that he were either firing blanks or there was something. But there was something like that. I don't know if we'll see many fars, or I could be wrong. Put me bang to rights, anyone. Right, so that's Bahrain Trophy thoughts. So we're pretty keen on Stowell, and Mandub one to watch maybe for the future. The 225 is the Tattersalls July Stakes. It's a Group 2 contest. Brian Smart has the favourite. Got on Brian and Reg Bond. Project Dante at 7-2 with lovely pair of hands. Graham Lee in the saddle. John, any view on this?
Well, I thought Project Dante was probably the best horse in his Ascot race. And I can say him running well here. But for me, the one to be with from Ascot, it's a bit of a left field job, this, is the organiser. Now, I've watched this back a couple of times, and basically he pulled like Rolf Harris at a primary school open day, this one. The tongue tie's fitted today, which I think will suit. I think he might just drop it a bit better for that. And I think if he settled, physically this horse would be more than the equal of anything in this field. He's a smashing specimen. And I would like to see him progress and make it to a decent horse. And I think he can. And I think he's a fair shout, I think. I couldn't be having Eldrick Jones, despite him coming from a Coventry. I think at the time we sort of decided to put a line through the Coventry farm. I'm quite happy to do it again because I don't particularly want to see Gobby Roger win a 2-year-old pattern race anyway. So I'll go with the organiser. Yeah.
That's a good shout, a good price. I love it when for listeners that maybe new listeners or whatever, John's pretty good with his paddock assessments, and I do like it if he likes one physically going forwards, because as we know with 2-year-olds, you could have an horse with blistering form in May, and then it could plateau out by August time, and that's no good to anyone if you're backing on past performances. And with John liking this one physically, it'll probably make me have a few quid on as well at prices, because whenever John says anything he likes something physically going forwards, it's good enough for me. I agree with John also on Project Dante. It is the right favourite, which kind of shows, I'm not being disrespectful to Brian Smart or the horse or anything else, but it kind of shows where we are on the early season 2-year-olds this season. I don't think me or John have been impressed at all with the standard of the group races so far in the UK anyway, in terms of what we've seen so far. Maybe the big guns are just playing the big cards later this season instead of getting a few ready for Royal Ascot. We don't know. We'll wait to see what's happening on that front from the big yards in Ireland and big yards over here. But Project Dante I thought was unlucky in the Norfolk. It was the best horse in the Norfolk, should have won. Go Bears Go, the second horse in that's come out and won the Railway in Ireland. So the form is rock solid. Cannot put anyone off at 7-2. I think that's really solid. It's a solid play. But if you want one at a price, and I'll be backing John Small. I'll be backing a horse I'm going to mention now, Asymmetric of Alan King Kong. The way this horse has travelled up in both his races has been very eye-catching for me, and I just feel there's more to come. He does it very easily. It's all on the Billy Idol, and I'm thinking there's definitely more to come, because sort of halfway in both races so far. He could have gone a lot faster if he'd have wanted. And I just think this could be the making of him. A race like this that would probably be well run. And asymmetric could be a very, very big price. I think at 12-1 and could surprise a few here. But yeah, Project Dante is the right favourite at 7-2. So that's my plays here. Project Dante, asymmetric, and John's 12, 14, 7-2. And hopefully we won't be losing on the race. And I agree with John. Eldrick Jones is worth opposing for me. 3 o'clock race is the next race on the telly. It's the 6 furlongs Bet365 handicap. Quite valuable. Yeah, it must have been called something else because this is purely a bookmaker's name now. It's a heritage handicap, so I don't know what it was called before. But there's no link or reference to what it used to be called. Any ideas, John, what it used to be called?
I don't recall of the race, to be honest.
Heritage handicap, just another 6 foot. I mean, I can't think of what it was. Anyway, that's by the by. Boom Shalar is favourite at 5-1 for Roger Varian and the Drunk Italian on board. Andrea Zene, any thoughts on this, John?
Yeah, my old mate Jumbie. Despite top weight, I still think this has the potential to rate a fair bit higher than 104. Now, I'm not saying it's a Group 1 animal. I know Miss Johnson Houghton was very keen to get this into Group 1 company last time, and he didn't go off unfancied. He was only 11-1. But I didn't particularly think heavy ground was what he wanted either. He didn't seem to move through it terribly well at Newbury and good to soft. So I think he's back on ground that will suit him an awful lot better today. And I think 8-1 with all these runners each way, I think it's very, very hard to knock him out the first 4.
Yeah, it's often been a listener of ours said that Jumbie had the most solid 3-year-old sprint handicap in form. That was the key race of the season when he won at Newmarket. Obviously up £9 for that. Like you said, was up to Group 1 company last time. You could probably draw a line through that as well, like with the ground. There's nothing really in the pedigree why he'd go on that ground that soft. And I noticed that Connections last year withdrew Jumbie on heavy ground, stating it as it was unsuitable. So, yeah, John, I mean, basically you can draw a line through that coconut and then you're coming straight off the back of Newmarket, and 8-1 seems very fair, John. Each way a pleasure. Concur with you there. I've got nothing else to add. Jadwal obviously was behind Jumbie, reopposes. So people might sort of make a case, could that reverse the form? But he's only, I think, £2 better off. So it's probably not worth bothering about. But yeah, Jumbie, I think it's a good shout from John there. 8-1 each way a pleasure. We'll move on to the 3:35. It's the feature race for the first day, which is the Princess of Wales Stakes Group 2 affair. I can remember back in the day, John, when Unfuwain or Umfwan, as some commentators used to pronounce it, won this. Any thoughts here?
Christ, I can remember Height of Fashion beating Ard Ross in this.
Yeah, I see your Unfuwain and raise you with it's a fashion, yeah.
Yeah. If you want me to be really sick about it, I go back to when I was 7 and Record Run won it en route to the King George.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, I was. Yeah, I don't know whether I was off school or whether I'd skived off, but Record Run, Brian Taylor, owned by Solid Jewel, no less. Yeah, nice race this if you like odds on Favs. Al Assi, I really can't see much point in opposing this, to be perfectly honest. So Ron Priestley seems to be paying the price for the vigorous early season campaign the Kilts imposed on him. Highest ground in typical Sir Michael Stout style for the last 2 years anyway, seems to be deteriorating with racing. Bangkok seems, well, he's probably heading for Bangkok with the level of form he's showing, and it doesn't leave an awful lot, does it?
No, I'm quite surprised. I'll be honest. I'm quite surprised to see Highest Ground as clear second favourite at the moment. In fact, I'm scratching my head as to why that is second favourite. Because the one thing you've got here, even though it's 5 runners, I completely agree with Al-Azi. Al-Azi is the best horse, so that's that. He's 4 to 6. But I'm going to put a proviso in here. You'll not like it, but Saron Priestley, and we said this, right? So he beat Pile Driver at Newmarket. Now, Pile Driver for me was having a run then. He wasn't 100%. He was ridden like, you can't take that literally. So I'm not taking that literally at all. But again, I do think it's still a high level of form, what he did show at Newmarket. I do think he's not as good as Pile Driver, but, he's probably on a track like this where you're going to get a lone trip, you're going to be able to just, bounce out. Because we even said, John, if you remember, after he'd done what he did at Newmarket, we opposed him at York. We said we can't have that making all over 1.6 miles at York. We said, and we were right to take him on. I got a good few quid out of it. Everyone was happy, hopefully, that day. And then what did he do next time? So again, soft ground. What does typical Johnson do? Just tries to make the running. Again, not a track, for making the running. We all know that Newmarket has some rather tricky biases at times. And I'm saying if you didn't want to back the favourite at 4 to 6, which I know some people will, I would say that's the one to have just a little tickle on, because you could see that just bouncing out. They're all sat playing jockeys. Stout's not going to lead. You might say Cecil will want to lead, but I can't see it over this trip because, Bangkok, he's really been a 10 furlong horse all its life. So I cannot see Andrew Balding saying, go and take on Sir Ron Priestley.
No.
So it's one of them that that's going to get a hand solo. So it's a case of, is it good enough? No. But could it be good enough if they left it alone? Possibly. So I think that could be a smidgen of value, even though he wouldn't be the best horse. Now, we're trying to stick to TV races over the Thursday and Friday, but I thought we'd take in this one, John, because the 4:10 race on day one, the Henry Cecil Stakes, the listed contest, is arguably, and I'll say it right, it's arguably a better race than the not on ratings wise, but fascinating and also full of quality in terms of race of the day. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a rip snorter, isn't it? Really, I mean, because there's a lot of angles you can come at this, really, and there's some interesting angles as well. I mean, for a start, I'm quite surprised that John and the Real Slim 30 are dropping back the Rabin trip so soon. I didn't think the excursion to France was entirely conclusive myself.
Mm-hmm.
Out with a saddle as well as mare. I'm somewhat perplexed that they've so quickly decided to drop back to 1 mile. Baid, if that's how you say it, obviously masses of potential, has been priced up as though he has already fulfilled that potential.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much priced up as though he's at the level that these have shown already, which I would dispute, I'm afraid. I couldn't be backing him at 2 to 1. Maximal, I think, is an absolute mouse. I mean, he travelled up lovely at Ascot, didn't he? I mean, he was going to be second at worst turning it. How the hell he's managed to finish 4th after that? I mean, unbelievable. I mean, they've obviously decided he didn't stay the 10 furlongs before that, whereas I think he was probably just dogging it off anyway.
Yeah, he's very soft in a finish for me.
Oh, I mean, which to me leaves one roller as a value player with the cheek pieces on the first time. He's been highly tried. He's obviously shown a decent level of ability. He's rated the same as Maximal. One's 5 to 2, the other one's 15 to 2.
Yeah, and also holds a points victory over Maximal when they met in the in the maiden back in
Exactly.
August last year.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so he's got the first bout of victory there.
He got his retaliation in first, is one way to put it, isn't it?
He did. So yeah, I mean, what a race. I'll just tell you my thoughts of these. Obviously, again, if you're looking for the leader, because don't forget, keep your eye on the biases at Newmarket. Sometimes on Rattling Quick, you get front runner after front runner. It has happened. Namus, again, of the kilts, wouldn't be good enough to win this contest. I did have a little bit of big prices on him in the St James's Palace, just because I felt again that there could be one or two plain jockeys in that, on the round course, and I just felt if they just leave that, but it didn't work out like that. So I'll pass him. I agree with John about One Ruler. Some very, very high class form, really. You know, tied in with Max Swiney, beat Van Gogh at Newmarket last back end in the Autumn Stakes. And for many was considered potentially their guineas, or over the winter they were saying, well, that's possibly their guineas contender. Didn't turn out like that. The Doyler ended up on him, and you've got the Doyler again. But yeah, I agree with One Ruler. He could come back to form. Derab, I think they've dropped back in trip because I reckon the horse is probably nearly unmanageable. In fact, I don't know why they're leaving him as a colt, because he's obviously ridiculously free at home. That's what I'm told off the lads at Gosden's. They say he's absolutely rabid.
Well, he didn't the level as a 2-year-old to be considered as a stallion anywhere, did he? So you might as well have whacked his knackers off.
Yeah, I think for Judmont's sake, I'd probably, because you could probably, if he does settle down after having his nuts off, he could end up very useful and a good money spinner for them. So yeah, that's what I'd do. Baid, like you say, absolutely oozes potential, but again, the sectional timings, boys. I mean, I've got the sectionals in front of me, and this lad is well, definitely group class on what we've seen so far. But the problem with this is they've probably stepped up to a listed race thinking, yeah, we'll pinch a listed race first, and then we'll look. But sadly, they've walked into horses 110 plus. On the first outing in listed races, and like you said, John, the price already merits, like as if it's already there. The sectional timing says it's there. Says yes, this is definitely a Group 3 horse, definitely for now. Anyway, definitely. But like you say, you're banking on it doing it first time against these when. It will have at some point, I would imagine, some kind of fractions in the race that it's probably not.
You'd hope he could do it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
He'd be the one with pretensions to go and challenge Jim's horse later on.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't see any of the others doing that. But
no.
It's what he's got to do tomorrow at 2-1 that puts you off.
Well, it's that's it. I mean, had he been sort of like 3-1, or say, somewhere between 7-2 and 3-1,
yeah,
you'd have perhaps gone, you'd be probably putting it up as a bet. But like you said, now he's 2-1, and you can bet your life. I've got a feeling they'll go even shorter. I've got a feeling that when we wake up, Thursday morning, it could be 13-8, 7-4, and then you're even less excited. So yeah, that's the problem there. But fascinating race. One to really get stuck in if you've got an opinion. But like John says, I agree that One Ruler is probably the value at the prices around the 15-2 mark on what we can see on the betting. Right, we move forward to Friday's fair. By the way, any other business, John, at Newmarket that day? Did you like?
I did just want to mention in the first race, there's a full sister to Expert Eye making a debut. They've had Ryan built quite a while to ride this. She's been going quite well in her homework, apparently. My own personal assessment of her, if she finished somewhere near that Hannon horse, round about the 75 mark, that would be a smashing debut, and you'd look for her to really move forward from that next term.
Yeah. So you don't think she's a bet tomorrow?
I'd be very chary about backing any of the yards on debut. They can get absolute monsters beaten. So
Yeah.
I'd much rather take a watching brief. If she went and won it, fair enough. She's probably going to be pretty good. But I'd certainly just see a nice debut running on nicely into about fourth.
Yeah, he seems to be very easy to Stout on his 2-year-olds. Not so easy on his 3-year-old debutants. If ever Stout sort of like releases a decent one at 3, you can bet your life they're more tuned up because they'll have had more time to grow and develop, and then he probably tends to get stuck into them more. But like you said, John, a lot of his 2-year-olds are left a bit slack, and
Yeah, I think it's a fair maiden that tomorrow as well. I think that favourite sets the fair standard, lovely manner.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thanks for pointing that out. So that's one for you, for notebooks to watch. Like you say, if Stouts runs close up first time, you'll know it'll come on plenty, and one possibly for next time out. So we go to the Friday, the second day of our preview, and the first race we'll look at, John, is the Bet365 another Heritage Handicap. It says Heritage Handicap, but I don't know which one this is. It's got a name. It'll have had a name. Listeners, if you listen to this, tweet us and tell us what names we're missing, just so I don't have to waste time looking myself. Yeah, that's really it. So the 150 race there, Fox's Tails heads the market with the SDS. Who, to be fair, we've been giving SDS some stick in recent times, but it's fair to say he rides Newmarket better than he will other courses due to the better results on the front end than of courses like Ascot, etc. So Fox's Tails heads the market 4-1 for Andrew Balding, who also has a good record, John, at the July meeting. There's him and the Kilt, would you believe? They're way above winners, above expectation. They're the two trainers that do best at the July meeting historically.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with the jockey Belkins here because Fox's Tails, as you know, did me a massive favour at Ascot.
I did, yeah.
I was hoping that O'Sheen would have retained the ride, but for obvious reasons, we've got Cecil up top. It's a stiff little race, this, really. Probably if I had to have a bet, I'd probably just stick with Fox's Tails. I think it'll probably run well.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember that, because it kind of it were a sigh of relief bet, weren't it? The fact, at last, it was late on, and it's like, for God, thank God that's coming. Fox's Tails under O'Sheen, and I remember John that day was like delighted that Sylvester had chose the other one. He was like absolutely bouncing that O'Sheen.
I was desperate for it to get a quiet ride, early on, and Shane was absolute perfection on it. I'm absolutely convinced that Sil wouldn't have won on it.
Well, in this, I'm convinced that Peter the Great has got a lot of improvement in it under Frankie and John Gosden. A hell of a lot of improvement in it. And I just mentioned Jabayana. That was drawn for me on the wrong side at Ascot in the Britannia, and I did feel that came through nice. But what I'd also like to mention. In the race. Oh no, sorry, no, it doesn't run. Yep, sorry, no, I wouldn't like to mention it at all. So Jabayana then, Jabayana was drawn on the wrong side. I thought that ran really well behind Perotta at Ascot, and I do think if that had been possibly drawn towards the stand side, then it possibly would have won. So I thought that was interesting there.
Just a little bit of information for you as well, this used to be called the Duke of Cambridge Handicap.
Thank you very much. Duke of Cambridge Handicap. Right, so there we go. See, I'm not a fan. We've talked about this in past Sunday sermons. I'm not a fan of like leaving race names out. I accept that bookmakers deserve a sponsorship, but there's maybe it starts off with you could call it the Bet365 Duke of Cambridge Handicap. I don't see why that has to be just omitted. I think that's just terrible because I think punters have an affinity with these kind of races. You know, like as I have for some weird affinity with the Mandarin Handicap chase at Newbury in January or February, whenever it's run. You know, just things like that. Just stick certain races that stick in your memory. I'm not a fan of deleting because what's point in just saying heritage handicap? Well, yeah, it's a heritage handicap, but why is it? What makes it a heritage handicap? So I think it's wrong. Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
I do, and another little aside here that people might not be aware of: the Kilt has actually won 6 of the last 10 of these. Which, for fans of track biases, hello.
Well, we've mentioned the Kilt in the other races because we're obviously frightened to death that he's going to get. You're going to be tweeting about halfway through the first day and saying, Jesus, what are these buggers doing, letting him win these? You know, that's 3 easy he's had.
Where's your brains, lads? You know?
Where's your brains? I know this is the thing. People just look into who's the best horse, but sometimes, especially at HQ, you know, you've got to be careful. But King Frankel, then Ben Curtis, that could be the one. You know, like
I'll stick with that now, won't we?
You know, that could be. Well, you know, you can't leave these out. You cannot leave these Johnston front enders out. He'll get what. That's why he's top trainer. That's why he's winners above expectation, because he's riding just like he does everywhere else. He hasn't got a clue. He'd front run from Ascot. He'd front run from Doncaster. He'd front run from anywhere. He didn't care. But like Newmarket, as we know, they let him get on with it and he just keep rolling. So yeah. The King Frankel left for Johnston, worth a mention. Right, we move on to the 225, the Duchess of Cambridge. It's a Group 2 fillies event, the equivalent of the July Stakes, but for fillies. Sandrine heads the market for Andrew Balding, who again does well here at 9-4, top of the head, John. Any views?
Well, Sandrine was pretty impressive given the conditions at Ascot. I couldn't crab the performance too much because at the end of the day, she could only beat what was put in front of her. The trouble is, I do tend to think what was put in front of her was a little bit tarnished due to the state of the ground.
Yeah.
I'm kind of inclined to give Flotus another chance.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest. Certainly not knocked about when she couldn't win. That's one thing about the Sardine. He does look after them when they can't win. He looks after them when they're only going to be second sometimes, but you know that's the chance you take when you're backing somebody 50 in the saddle, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think this still has a little bit of potential about it, and I'd like to see it bounce back here on a better surface. If not, you can probably put a line through it. This would be the last day for making excuses for Flotus. I'm afraid it needs to deliver here.
Was immensely impressive on debut with Flotus. I remember watching it back thinking, geez. Sadly, it's not worked out. The race hasn't worked out possibly as good as you'd like. In fact, the fourth horse, obviously beaten a fair way, about 7 lengths by Flotus, but was Profound Alexander. That's got kicked out of the way by 6 today at Lingfield. So. And the second, I don't think, has done anything. Prism of Roger Varians. I think that's. It's only had 1 race, but it was tailed off. So you just wonder about that. What is that form gonna hold up? I found this race tricky, John. But I'm going to put a mention for the runner-up to Sandrine at Ascot, which was Hello You, who was rabidly keen early on, absolutely rabid, and definitely that cost her any chance. And she was so impressive on debut, and the way that she still kept on over 6 on heavy, I thought that was really, really impressive thing to do. And I did like her on looks on debut. I thought she was the complete 2-year-old, really. Nothing flash physically in terms of, you're going to get better at 3 and all this rubbish. I just thought she's so well put together, moves really well. She's by Invincible Spirit, so should improve for the fast ground side of things. And I do think she moves well, and that's why I'm going to put her up as a decent bet here at 7-2. I think Oscula, that wants a bit of juice. Should, that's third in. Like I said, Sandrine, I thought was impressive because of the conditions rather than than perhaps just having a mega amount of ability. So yeah, and I thought there was little depth to this. So Hello You is going to be a decent bet for me if I can get something like 7 or 2 in the Duchess of Cambridge. So that's where me and John stand. John giving us a chance to flirt us, and me Hello You for Rafe and Ralph. We move on to the 3 o'clock, which is I'm terrible. See, my memory, you've got a great memory. I'm terrible. This is another Bet365 trophy. This is wrong. Again, the BHA, Heritage Handicap. What's this? I forgot. It's a 1 mile and 6 race, Heritage Handicap, Global Storm. Charlie Appleby trains the favourite, James Doyle in the saddle, 6-1 fav. John, any view here?
Yeah, I had a bit of trouble with this race, really. I thought Global Storm was probably just the right fav. But nothing really leaps off the page at me as being terribly well handicapped.
Yeah.
The one I thought might have a bit more to give was Prince Alex down the bottom, Rafe and Ralph. I think that this one's progressed from debut this year and run nice race last time. I think there might be a little bit more offer, but I'm not desperate to have a bet in the race.
No, I'll be honest. Sometimes I do wave a white flag, and I did kind of struggle with this. What about your Hockfeld for the kill?
Well, you don't know what's going to happen here, because how many you got in this? You got 3, haven't you? I'm counting all.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, Waters might like a softie. Joe'll go forward. Now that they've ridden Hockfeld from the front in the plate, they'll think he has to lead because this is only 1 mile and 6.
Yeah.
And the max we can, after winning on debut, where he showed a little bit of temperament, I thought. Since then he's given every indication he's no longer with us. He'll probably do the donkey work himself. He wouldn't be surprised at all with Sil up. So there could be a 3-way tussle on the front end, and we could all be from Middleham. So I just like flag job really as regards the kilt runners there.
Yeah, I'm struggling for a bet in this. My token selection would be Antiaz, because I do think there's more to come from that. It's quite unexposed on turf, really. It's had the 2 starts, and obviously successful last time out at Ascot at a big price. I didn't think it probably deserved to be a big price, but I did have to time that. So it's just that typical pundit bullshit. But Antiaz for me, I thought might have a little bit more to come from that marker 99 for John and Slim. Gone to 3:35, the big Fillies race, and this is obviously the race of the day, and the favourite is Alcohol Free, that has had a great season really. Beat a bad horse in Statement that we keep opposing on reappearance. John ran 5th in the Guinness. And then turned up at Ascot and did the biz and beat one of our favourites, Snow Lantern. What's your view? I'd be very interested to see what you think here.
I think this is a marvellous race, actually, from a let's have a look at this race standpoint. Honestly, the angles you can come at this race, it's it's like trying to finger blast 11 lasses at once. Really
it's like your toilet bowl after a Vindaloo, isn't it? Angles that you can get there.
It's incredible, you got our old friend Queen Power there at 14-1. You'd never have thought she'd be going off at 14-1 in the race this year, but
nope.
I think if anything, she might be saving a bit underpriced.
Yeah. Do you think though, right? Because she is jaded, we know this, right? But and she's got an idiot on board. But I thought she ran a blinder last time from middle at track. Didn't you think?
I think she probably got carried there, to be honest.
Yeah.
She didn't win on her side, did she?
No.
If she'd won on her side, All right, then she's run a blinder, but
Yeah.
she hasn't won on her side. She's done her usual and found something to beat her.
Which was Lady Bowthorpe, of course.
Yeah, which, again, given the Lockings run 8-1 looks big. I can't have alcohol free. I think she was the one that really thrived on that ground last time. I thought her form that day was a revelation. I didn't buy much out the fifth in the Guineas, and I thought the defeat as statement amounted to very little, as statement has gone on to prove. So I definitely can't have alcohol free in this.
Yeah, that's a Bar Steward special lay, that one. We can't brag about when we lay horses or take them on, because obviously you don't win much. But me and John are 100% here. We're taking alcohol free. Go on, John, carry on.
I mean, if you want one to come through and prove itself a really, really good filly, you'd want probably Snow Lantern to win it, really, because Mother Earth, I mean, she's won a Guineas and then come out. I know she's got beat twice and possibly been excuses and all the rest of it, but she's 7-1 here. The lads clearly haven't stepped up to the mic yet, so they clearly don't think she's a 118, 120 or anything like that.
No.
So the potential horse would be Snow Lantern. Looking at it from a betting point of view, you'd probably say that Lady Bowthorpe's probably the overpriced one at 8.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. Maybe ground. Maybe they don't think she can run to that level on that ground. I mean, she did win at HQ earlier this season, obviously beating Queen Power, but then we'd think anything would beat Queen Power. But yeah.
Certainly on Lockings. How many of these would have run second in that?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we even said, I think in our Ascot preview, we said like Lady Bowthorpe, because she's uber solid on form. There's no filly that could probably have run second in Lockings. So I'm definitely not going to dish your bet. I think I haven't got a bet personally, apart from probably taking on alcohol free. I think I will try and strike that. But Snow Lantern, from a personal point, if I was, if we were sat here with Peyton Gin and we weren't pressing any buttons or finger blasting, Snow Lantern would be the one I'd be cheering on for. And Mother obviously won this race, Sky Lantern, and I just think it's quite a nice story. The Mother's won, the same trainer, trained the Mother.
I think this is a big ride for Sean Leary as well. Actually.
Yeah.
I think he's possibly got a little bit to prove at this sort of level as a jockey.
He's got a bit to prove this year as well. I've not been impressed with Sean this year.
And I think he needs to get this really settled and get her to run a nice race. I think otherwise, if I was the canon, I think I'd be starting to think, well, maybe I need a jockey.
I think so. I've made 2 or 3 comments regarding Sean this season, and whether it's confidence, I don't know, but he seems to be slightly on the regressive panel for me. But Snow Lantern would be an absolute dream to see her do the biz. Any other biz, John, for Friday?
Yes, funnily enough. I think I've got a canny bet in the 410.
Oh, nice.
And it's quite a left field job. Joseph Parr is someone I remember running around breaking everybody's balls when he was a little kid. He was an aggravating little sod. But I think he's potentially going to turn into quite a useful trainer, actually. And I rather like his Roman Dynasty in the 410. He campaigned this like a good horse last year in Rannick the Gym Crack, I think, was second time up. And the horse wasn't disgraced at all. And I've kept a bit of a slanted eye on this most of this season. And physically, it has tightened up immeasurably from first to second run, second to third run. I still think it will have come on from the third run. I think this has been brought along very, very carefully this year, and I think now we're down to 88. I think it could just be time to unleash the beast, and I think Harry Burns is reasonable value for his claim. It's not too big a fail, so he won't have a lot of aggro to negotiate. And I think 14-1 is very, very big about this horse. I could see this getting a bit of tap in the morning and going off about 10s and 9s.
Superb. We love a nice price selection with confidence. So 14-1 for John, Roman Dynasty. Harry Burns, obviously one of the most useful apprentice jockeys, taking 5 off for Joseph Parr. 14-1, good price. The one thing for me, obviously, Inveigle is obviously priced accordingly. Roman Dynasty is £8 better off with Inveigle for the Newmarket run. Inveigle impressive that day, but as a lot happens, Newmarket's not Yarmouth. Yarmouth nice and flat, suits the back end when they go a good lick. Newmarket undulations, it's not the same. So John, with a good selection there, to finish us off for our 2 days. We are back on Friday as usual, and I can promise you, it's a brilliant day's racing Saturday, and I've got a max bet for you on Saturday. So make sure you tune in on Friday as usual, and hopefully it'll be a profitable weekend for us on Super Saturday. Hope you enjoyed the selections and chat and banter for the first 2 days at HQ, and we hope it's a profitable one for you. So that's all from me and John tonight. Bye for now.